You've felt it, even if you've never put words to it. You walk into the room and your rabbit goes completely still. Not relaxed still, not sleepy still, but frozen, like a statue carved from fur, every muscle locked, eyes wide and fixed directly on you. For a long moment they don't move at all. They don't blink. They just stare, and something about it makes the hair on your arms stand up, because there's an intelligence in that gaze, a depth, a sense of being studied by something that understands far more than it lets on. Most people look away, a little unsettled, and go about their day. Just a weird rabbit thing. But here's what almost everyone misses. That frozen stare is one of the oldest, most information-dense, and most misunderstood behaviors your rabbit has. And what's actually happening behind those still, watchful eyes is far stranger and far more profound than you've ever imagined. Once you understand it, you will never look at that stare the same way again. Let's start with what the freeze actually is, because it was never about being calm. When your rabbit locks into that perfect stillness, they are not relaxed. In that instant, their body has made one of the fastest and most ancient decisions a prey animal can make. Faced with a potential threat, every creature has a small menu of survival responses, and the two most famous are fight and flight. But there is a third, and for a rabbit, it is often the first one reached for: freeze. In the wild, motion is what catches a predator's eye. A rabbit that bolts too early reveals its position. A rabbit that holds perfectly still may simply vanish against the grass, invisible as long as it does not move. So the freeze is not passivity. It is an active, calculated strategy, a held breath at the very edge of action, the body flooded with readiness while the muscles stay locked in stillness. When your rabbit freezes and stares at you, their nervous system has flagged something worth assessing, and they have chosen, in a fraction of a second, to become a statue while their mind races to decide what you are and what you intend. They are not zoning out. They are running one of the most sophisticated threat calculations in the animal world, and you are the subject of it. And by the way, if your rabbit has started freezing far more than they used to, or freezing in situations that never used to trouble them, don't dismiss it, because we'll get into what a change in this behavior really means at the very end, and it's something most owners wish they'd understood much sooner. Now here's the part that genuinely unsettles people once they understand it. While your rabbit is frozen and staring, they are reading you with a precision that borders on the supernatural. They are not simply looking at you. They are gathering an enormous amount of information about your intentions, and they are doing it through channels you don't even know you're broadcasting on. Your speed, the direction of your gaze, the tension in your shoulders, the height of your body, and whether it's rising or lowering. Whether you're moving directly toward them, which to a prey animal reads as the approach of a predator, or moving past them, which reads as safe. The rhythm of your breathing, even the energy with which you entered the room. In the wild, a rabbit's life depends entirely on the ability to distinguish a predator that is hunting from one that is merely passing through, to read intent in a body before that body commits to action. Your rabbit applies that same life-or-death skill to you, every single time. That long, still stare is your rabbit asking a question older than humanity itself. Is this one safe right now, or not? And the answer they reach is built from 100 tiny signals you have no idea you're sending. This is why something remarkable happens when you learn to respond to the freeze correctly. Because your rabbit is reading your body so intently, the way you carry yourself in that moment becomes a kind of conversation. Drop to their level instead of looming above them, and you shrink from the silhouette of a predator into something far less threatening. Turn your body slightly to the side rather than squaring up and facing them head-on, and you signal that you are not on a hunting line toward them. Slow your movements, soften your gaze, lower your voice, and you send a stream of signals that, in their ancient language, all say the same thing. No threat here. You can stand down. Owners who learn this often describe an almost magical shift. The moment the frozen statue suddenly melts, the muscles release, an ear flops, the rabbit shakes itself out and returns to ordinary life. What they've witnessed is the end of a successful threat assessment. The rabbit asked its question, read the answer in your body, and concluded that all was well. You didn't calm them with words. You calmed them with the only language they were ever built to trust, the language of the body. And if this is changing the way you understand your rabbit, take a moment to like and subscribe, because we explore what rabbit behavior actually means, not what we assume it means, and it helps more rabbit owners truly understand the animal living beside them. The fourth thing to understand is the most extraordinary, and it explains why the stare feels so eerily knowing. Your rabbit's eyes are not built like yours, and the world they see is profoundly different from the one you see. A rabbit's eyes sit high and far back on the sides of their head, and this gives them a field of vision so wide it is almost a complete circle. A rabbit can see nearly all the way around its own body, in front, to the sides, and far behind all at once, without turning its head. They evolved this way for one reason. A creature hunted from every direction needs to watch every direction at the same time. But this gift comes with a strange and revealing cost. Directly in front of a rabbit's nose, and directly behind their head, lie small blind spots where their wide-set eyes cannot reach. So here is the unsettling truth hidden in that head-on stare. When your rabbit appears to be looking straight at you, fixing you with that intense frontal gaze, they may actually be working to see you better, turning their head, shifting their position, because the spot right in front of their face is exactly where their vision is weakest. The stare that feels so direct, so piercing, so full of meaning, is partly your rabbit compensating for the one place they cannot easily see. They are not just watching you. They are wrestling with the architecture of their own eyes to bring you into focus. Because you matter enough to be worth the effort. There's more to how they see that changes everything about the stare. Rabbits are thought to see the world in a limited range of color, with vision adapted not for sharp detail, but for detecting motion, especially in the dim light of dawn and dusk, when their ancestors were most active and most hunted. Their eyes are exquisitely tuned to movement and to the difference between light and shadow, the flicker of something moving against the sky that might be a hawk, the shift of a shape at the edge of a field that might be a fox. This is why a rabbit can seem oblivious to a stationary object and then explode into alarm the instant it moves. And it's why your stillness, when you hold yourself calm and unmoving in front of a frozen rabbit, is so powerful. To an eye built to hunt for motion, stillness is the absence of threat. When you go quiet and still in response to their freeze, you are speaking directly to the deepest layer of how their vision works. You are removing the one thing their eyes are most desperately watching for. Two statues facing each other, each waiting to read the other's first move. Here's something worth sitting with in all of this. The freeze is, in its own quiet way, a sign of an animal that is fully present and fully engaged with its world. A rabbit that freezes and assesses is a rabbit whose ancient survival machinery is running exactly as it should, alert, intelligent, responsive, alive to every nuance of its environment. There is a strange beauty in being the subject of that gaze, in realizing that this small creature is studying you with the same focused intelligence its ancestors used to survive a world full of teeth and talons. When your rabbit freezes and reads you and then chooses, again and again, to relax, they are making a decision about you every single time. They are concluding over and over that you are safe. And the accumulation of all those small daily verdicts, all those moments of being assessed and found trustworthy, is exactly what a bond between you and a prey animal is built from. Every freeze that ends in relaxation is another brick in that foundation. Your rabbit is not just tolerating you. They are repeatedly choosing you with the most honest part of themselves, the part that cannot lie about what it perceives. The fifth thing is the one almost no one notices, and it lives in the tiny movements that surround the freeze. Watch your rabbit carefully during one of these moments, and you'll see that the stillness is never truly empty. The ears are doing an enormous amount of work, swiveling and adjusting, gathering sound from every direction even while the body holds perfectly still. The nose, if you look closely, is almost always twitching, working the air, pulling in scent at a furious rate, because smell is one of a rabbit's most important senses, and they are reading the chemistry of the room even as they read you with their eyes. The freeze is not one sense shutting down. It is every sense pouring its full power into a single question. And the speed at which the nose is twitching can tell you a great deal. A rabbit twitching its nose rapidly is highly alert, processing intensely, on edge. A rabbit whose nose slows to a lazy, occasional wiggle has relaxed, the alarm winding down. So the next time your rabbit freezes and stares, don't just watch their eyes, watch their nose. You are watching, in real time, the rise and fall of their assessment of you, written in the rhythm of their breathing. When that frantic twitch slows to a gentle, comfortable wiggle, you've just been cleared. There's a particular kind of freeze that deserves its own warning, because it is the one most often misread, sometimes with serious consequences. When you pick a rabbit up and hold them on their back, cradled in your arms with their belly exposed, many will go completely limp and still, eyes half closed, utterly motionless. People often call this trancing and assume the rabbit is relaxed, even blissful, lulled into peace by the cuddle. The truth is the opposite, and it matters enormously. That stillness is almost certainly not relaxation. It is a freeze response taken to its furthest extreme, a state of profound fear in which a prey animal, feeling utterly helpless and unable to escape, shuts down and plays dead as a last resort. The same instinct that makes a rabbit go limp in the jaws of a predator in the desperate hope of being dropped. The rabbit isn't calm, it is terrified into stillness. Understanding the difference between a rabbit that is genuinely relaxed and a rabbit that has frozen in fear is one of the most important pieces of knowledge any owner can have, because the two can look deceptively alike to an eye that doesn't know what it's seeing, and mistaking terror for contentment can quietly erode the very trust you're trying to build. So what does it mean when the freezing changes? This is what I mentioned at the very beginning, and it's the part every rabbit owner needs to understand most. Because the freeze sits so close to the core of how a rabbit experiences safety and danger, a change in how often or how intensely your rabbit freezes is one of the clearest signals they can send you. If a rabbit who was once confident and relaxed begins freezing constantly, startling and locking up at things that never used to bother them, jumping at ordinary sounds and movements, something in their world has shifted and their sense of security has eroded. A new pet whose presence they can sense. A new person. A change in their environment. A frightening experience in a place they used to trust. Even a change in the household's energy. Any of these can push a rabbit into a state of heightened, constant vigilance. A rabbit that has begun freezing far more than usual is a rabbit asking you to look closely at their world and find what has frightened them, because something has, and they cannot tell you in words. But there is another change that matters just as much, and it's one owners are most likely to miss because it hides in plain sight. A rabbit's freeze, in its healthy form, always ends. The threat is assessed, the verdict comes back safe, and the animal relaxes, shakes itself out, and returns to ordinary life. The freeze is meant to be temporary, a moment, not a state. So when a rabbit seems to stay frozen for too long, when the stillness stops looking like alert assessment and starts looking like withdrawal, when they sit hunched and unresponsive and detached from the world around them rather than poised and watchful, that is a different thing entirely, and it can be a warning. Rabbits are masters at concealing illness and pain, because in the wild a visibly weak animal is the first one a predator takes. A rabbit sitting too still, too quiet, too checked out, with a hunched posture and a dullness in the eyes, may not be assessing a threat at all. They may be telling you, in the only way their biology allows, that something is wrong inside them. That kind of stillness, stillness without alertness, withdrawal without the quick return to life, is a moment to look very closely, and if anything else seems off, to seek out a vet who genuinely understands rabbits. The point of all of this is simple, and it's worth carrying with you the next time your rabbit goes still and fixes you with that long, unblinking stare. They are not malfunctioning, and they are not simply being odd. They are doing one of the most ancient and intelligent things their species knows how to do. They are reading you, with eyes built to see almost everything at once, with ears swiveling toward every sound, with a nose pulling the truth out of the air, all of it pouring into a single urgent question that their ancestors have been asking for millions of years. Is this one safe? And every time they look at you, hold still, study you, and then let their muscles soften and their nose slow to a gentle wiggle, they are answering that question in your favor. They are choosing to trust you, not on faith, but on the evidence of their own remarkable senses. So the next time you feel that intense gaze land on you, don't look away unsettled. Lower yourself, soften, go still. Let them read you, and let them find, written in every line of your calm and patient body, the answer they're hoping for. Because to your rabbit, that frozen stare was never coldness, and it was never nothing. It was the deepest question they know how to ask, offered to the one they most want to be able to trust. And now that you understand what it truly means, you'll never meet that stare the same way again.